Easy, I am Mitekiss. I am a producer. Primarily I make drum and bass. I've been signed to Hospital Records, Shogun, etc. I've had nearly 20 million streams and I work in Cubase. This is a drum and bass template I made and I thought I would share it. Free download, no strings. What I would appreciate is a little subscribe or come on Instagram, give me a little follow. It all really does help. Either way, it very much helps me do what I do and give shit away for free. So I've already done it. You can see it here. So if you're not used to it in Cubase, you can just go to more and you can load up your templates ready to go, right? They have some already for you, but they're never going to be as good as your own ones. So I would advise taking this and maybe tweaking it to your own and doing a save as, but I'm going to build it from scratch so you can see how I did it. And if you're not interested, skip ahead, check the description, grab the template. Actually, I'm going to show it to you first. So here's the project template, right? We've even got Supervision set up with all the things we would need, and we are using it correctly, not on the stereo out, but on the inserts of the control room. So yeah, look, if you're not interested, here's a quick look. We've got some drum channels all in purple going to a group. We've got some keys, some vocals doing the same thing. Those groups end up on final buses, which you can see over here, which are pinned to the right of our mixer, which is a cool little Cubase feature. Let's hide Supervision. And this, by the way, is all stock plugins ready to go. They're all disabled to start with. And then our groups go to these final buses. And on these final buses, we can just do some last tweaks that we would do before we send off for mastering. We've also even got a preview final bus, which we could throw some limiters on, some clippers on, a bit of compression, just to see what might happen when we send it to the masters. We get an idea of how loud we can get our tunes, etc. So yeah, if you don't want to watch, I'm actually going to build this out for you for this video. If you don't want to watch that and you just want this template, then download it. It's in the description. Not a problem. But you will miss some little tips. So new project, empty. What I'm going to do, right, the first thing you want to do is make sure you're running control room. I know not everyone does, but in audio connections, go over to control room and just make sure this is on. A lot of people run this off. But control room just gives you a little bit more control. You set your output here. You can see I've got it set to my Quantum HD2 by PreSonus, and then I've got my external instrument, my Moog, set up in there. If you've got external effects, they would be here. I've got a little send here that can go to guitar pedal and stuff. When you do that, you get some additional controls over here on the right hand side on this little side strip, which if you can't see, it's enabled there. We can do things like have inserts or quickly flick between mono, stereo, useful. You can see we've got little presets here. We can add some more. We can have multiple monitors so we can switch between speakers. Lots of clever routing you can do. The inserts on the control room only affect the very last point before it comes out your speakers, so they won't get bounced or printed onto your mix, which is really useful if, like me, you use something like well, first up, actually, I'm going to load Supervision, put that to one side. Like I use SonarWorks, right, for a little bit of extra help with the room, and I've got my preset here all saved. So running it there means I can just leave it on. And when I export, corrected EQ is not going to be printed onto my final audio file. Super useful because it stops me having to turn it off. So it's just the last stage before my speakers. Perfect. First thing, Supervision. We're going to use this just to help us with some references when we mix. And I've made one already, right? Let's load it up. It's in here somewhere. Mitekiss mix. I will put this in the download as well. What we have here is we have a spectrum bar. Then we've got a little phase correlation. Then here we've got a phase scope. We can see width. Here we can see if things are in and out of phase. Just peak here. True peak, simple. And then over there, a little loudness monitoring situation so we can just see what's going on and how loud stuff is. Kind of useful. Those two things, when you actually put them there, they stay there forever. Whenever you open a project now, template or not, they stay because your control room sits outside of projects. That's why it's super cool. So my reference thing is always on. I never have to worry about it or forget to turn it on or off. Let's go. Tempo 174 bush, because we are making drum and bass. And this is how your project's going to load. So I would always set a little 8-bar loop there, and then I always like to use a little count in. You see here we've got 4 bars before the start. You can do that here in project setup. You can say time offset 4 bars, and then we're not starting on 1 at the very edge. I just like to have a little pre-run up. It's just nicer to use, not gonna lie. It just feels easier. Then we're gonna load up my mixer, and then we're gonna load up this left panel. See that? we get a list of all our channels here on the left. And then we've got this thing called zones, which is quite a new feature, I think, maybe from 12 onwards. Anyway, stereo in, we're going to want it fixed to the left always. Then we're going to add some group channels. So we're going to do like, call this pre-master, no, pre-final mix bus or something. This is basically like a test. I'm going to put that over to the right there by using this little button switch. Stereo out, we want that on the far right as well. We're going to change, I'm going to put this as green because I feel like it's the very last step before stereo out. So this one I would use pre-sending to master as a kind of test. I might like smash a limiter on it to see what's going to happen to my tune when it gets to a master engineer, just as a bit of a test really. So obviously I would turn everything off on this channel before I bounce it. So that's that. We're going to add another group. Actually, let's add like 4. We're going to do drum final bus, yeah. We're going to do bass final bus, and I'm calling these final on purpose because they're final. So this is after our groups, because we might have like 8 drum channels, say, all going to a group, technically a bus as well. And we'll do our kind of mixing on that, but the final bus just allows us just to push a little bit more out of them if we need to. So I like to keep things color coded. You can see I've got, is it 24 colors set up? Again, if you're unsure how to do that here, you can go to project colors setup, and then presets. There you go, you can change it to 32. And because it's in your template, that always saves, because obviously you have to do that every time you start a new project, which is super annoying. Bass final bus, blue, and then my drums, I like to do in purple. And then I'm going to bang those all over on the right as well. And we can actually just click reorganize them. We want the pre-final just before the stereo out, and then maybe like vocal, bass, drums or something like that. Don't think we need group 2. Right, so that's that. Then we're going to add some, we're going to hit T, and we're going to add some, say, let's say drums, right? And we're going to do maybe start with 3. Stereo's fine. We're going to do that, and then we're going to add one group, call it drum group, and then actually I'm going to add a folder and call it drum folder. There is method to my madness. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to click my 3 drums and the group, put it in the folder. I'm going to put my drum group at the bottom. I'm going to click all of them and color them purple, and then we're going to route all 3 of these to the drum group. So all 3 you can see there go to drum group, and our final drum group is going to go to our drum final bus. So this group, like I say, we're going to use for our inserts to affect all the channels, and then we've got our drum final. I mean, if you wanted, you could put that in the folder as well. I just like having the final buses at the bottom. While I'm here, I'm going to add a marker track, and I'm going to call it key. This is a really good one. I'm going to put it at the very top of the project. Let's do it in red. And you know what? This is kind of a missed trick, man, right? You can draw in a position, and then up here in description, we can type in the key. So we can do like F sharp minor. It's always there. If you use Splice or whatever, TrackLib, you always know that your project's in that key. But obviously, you know, for the template, we'll do key goes here. So you know what to put in. And then we're going to do the same again, but for our other groups. We're going to do bass, maybe a couple of channels, add those. Let's pull these out of there. We're going to do those in blue. And then we are going to do a bass group as well. I'm going to put those in there, route them to bass group, and then bass group we're going to route to bass final bus. And then we're going to get all of those, and we're going to do, I've right clicked this way, but you can do it either way. We're going to do bass folder. And the reason I'm doing folders is because then we can just close stuff off when we're working. And it's just super tidy. Right, and then finally, vocals. We might, in this instant, we might do output in mono because we're doing vocals. Let's do 2 in, no, let's just stick with 2. We'll do 2 mono channels there. We're going to add a folder as well, Vox folder, and then we're going to put our vocal channels in the folder. We're going to select those 2. We're going to add group to selected tracks. There's another way to do it. We want the group to be in stereo though. the individual channels to be in mono. We're going to call it vocal group and make sure those two are rooted. They are. And then this one gets routed to the vocal final bus. Let's color those all in yellow. So yeah, we've got a couple of monos there. We've got our vocal group and then we've got our 3 folders. And there you have it. Super tidy, ready to go, 174. If you tend to use a lot of instruments, obviously I won't do this for your template because they won't load, but I always use Serato in almost every track, right? So I'm almost certain I could have that in a keys group. I haven't done one, but you could make another one, keys. Good to have a group and a bus because you can do all your group processing, which is fine. Having that final chain where you can just adjust the volume without affecting any of the plugins, and then you can kind of add any final tiny bits of compression, maybe a little bit of clipping, whatever it is, tiny little overall EQ. It's just nice. All these 3 need to be routed to the pre-final mix bus. I held down Option Shift to do that. And then this one is going to go to the stereo out. So these are all going to route for here. So this is going to be your final fader. Again, just make sure you turn off any inserts before you bounce to send off for mastering. But that's it. Really clean template, ready to go. And you got your Supervision. That's all you need. Hope you enjoy. Let me know how you use it. And of course, make it your own. You might want a keys one, a synth one, whatever it is. But honestly, it's good practice. And then file, save as template, and then it'll come up in that list. And it's just super quick. When you're ready to go and the inspiration's there's no mucking about setting up routing and channels. You just go. Anyway, follow for more. Like I said, subscribe, follow me on the gram, whatever. Peace. Enjoy.